We live in a society where people are fucking ignorant, you know? If somebody in North Korea were to claim that this Christian missionary group, are really spying for the Pentagon, rest assured that some punk ass shrink would have said whoop-de-whoop, because they're dumb, because they're bootlickers, because they're stupid, because they're ignorant, because psychiatry isn't a valid science. But people like me would have considered the possibility, and people in the government, in the Defense Department, would have taken it seriously. Most likely. What does that tell you? But people like me know better about human nature in the world than punk-ass shrinks.
And the idea is that they acted as a cutout. The Pentagon would task them to get things into North Korea, and they would use HISG and Kehiramina would use the network that they had of other missionaries and other aid workers who could get into North Korea at some regularity to move things, unwitting of the fact that they were doing it for the Pentagon, and in some cases moving equipment without knowing what it was that they might have been moving.
Bob Baer, as a former CIA operative, doesn't this raise red flags to you? I mean, this really theoretically could put innocent humanitarian workers at real peril.
Well, absolutely, Jake. I mean, you have to look at Abbottabad. We were trying to collect DNA, and, vaccination programs completely went under there, and the Pakistanis turned on them. And this puts at risk all Christian missionary groups across the world that work in hostile areas. They're going to be called spies, and they're going to be looking at this North Korean thing. Yeah, it puts them at risk, absolutely.
And Matthew, this program was secretive, you say, with very little oversight throughout both the Bush and Obama administrations. Why was it able to continue as long as it did?
Well, first of all, the nature of the way it was classified meant that it was very limited in terms of who outside of the people in the Pentagon knew. We know it was briefed to the Appropriations and the Armed Services Committee. We know it was probably briefed to the Intel committees, but in those briefings, it's only the chair and the ranking members. No staff is allowed in. They're not allowed to take notes. The rest is held by the White House. And so the question is, the indication that we got about how it was briefed as well was that they had an NGO that had access into what they call a denied area, and that was something that they needed. They were very blind on North Korea. It wasn't out of nowhere that they came up with the idea to try to get in. They were desperate. I don't think that there was any real mention of the religious association of both the organization that was being used and then the unwitting people in North Korea who were being used further down the line.
And Bob, U.S. clergy and journalists and Peace Corps volunteers are protected from missions like this. There's a ban on operatives portraying themselves as those groups, but charitable groups are still fair game for spying?
Exactly. Executive Order 12333, you can't get clergy, you can't do Peace Corps, you're absolutely right, but NGOs are fair game. But I think, Jake, the real thing is these operations never work. I've been involved in these going back to the 70s, and they just don't work. This is collecting what we call trash and ash. And at the end of the day, if you don't really have controlled assets in North Korea, they're not going to work. So I think we put these missionaries at risk for no possible gain. And I think this, Cole's story is very good in seeing how desperate we are to get intelligence in North Korea. We just don't have any. So this story tells us a lot of things about where we stand with that country.
And Bob, it seems like it would be terrifying, the idea of how many programs out there like this might exist, and there just is very minimal, if any, oversight, as Matthew describes in his piece.
Absolutely. Well, it's the failures of the committees on the Hill. I mean, they don't really look at these things. They come in, they get cursory briefings. They don't really understand them, and the people on the Hill don't understand intelligence, don't understand these things don't work. And this is why we're talking about it in the press, because American intelligence has failed us repeatedly in operations like this, and we as Americans need to know about this, especially when we're putting other Americans at risk, and they're not winning.
Okay, so you see, this news article came out later. Okay, remember the last video I've uploaded at this point, because I have like 2 more videos besides this that I've made that I haven't uploaded that I mean to upload today. But the last video that I've uploaded was, the John Kerry overseas gang stalking, and this proves my point to a fucking T. And that one I put a little clip from Wikipedia about how the Secretary of State oversees the clandestine operations of the CIA, especially political influence and paramilitary groups. Okay, the terrorists. And that overlaps with the counter-terrorist task force and so on and so forth. Wow, you know, I'm just dying here from this gassing. You know, we have both the windows have been open. You know, 2 fans going. You know, there's no reason for me to be sore throat and fucking all just completely sick, you know. I'm sleeping very warm with sweaters and blankets, you know. It's not because I'm cold, you know. This is absolutely unacceptable. But anyway, notice in this video, they talk about how the people were unwitting and the government used loopholes. They said, we can't use these and these groups legally, but we can, you know, because of, you know, the wording, we can use this group and we're going to use them unwitting. And we know that these things don't work. So when they get caught, you know, it will hinder the spread of Christianity worldwide because people will be looking at these people sideways and treating them in a very hostile manner. Which, needless to say, the ultimate result of that isn't gathering intelligence. The main effect of that is that Christians who are trying to spread the gospel and trying to help people will be treated in a hostile manner, which ultimately will lead to less Christian groups taking on those activities. Because our government is fucking satanic. And because I call them out on their Babylonian bullshit. They are gassing me. Okay? They are using the fact that there is not strong legislation preventing them from doing this. There is legislation, but it's not strongly enforced. There's no oversight committee that's really fucking handling, you know, these abuses, these human rights abuses that comes with the abuse of covert technology, the abuse of technology, the political abuse of technology. You know, and these are a bunch of lowly dogs that want to disarm you and then say, what are you going to do about it? You're fucking, you know, you're disarmed and you were dumb enough to let us disarm you. That's where we're at. Okay, on record, using these people in a covert experiment. I mean, let's look at it for what it is. This was an experiment. Can we do this? If we can, you know, we're going to keep doing it. But if it fails, so what? It was meant to fucking attack the Christian movements worldwide in the first fucking place. Because they're scum. Because they're lowly dogs. Because they gas righteous people. They use technology on old women. They rape children. These are evil people. All these bootlickers. The intelligence community should be called the pedophile community. The know-nothing pedophile community. They have access to all kinds of technology and all kinds of money and still don't know shit and still don't know nothing about morality. Piece of shit community. Complete garbage, complete, you know, complete waste, you know. All these people should be replaced. Just the whole thing. They're all crooked. Get rid of them all. And that's the problem, you know. Obviously, that would be very hard, but that is what needs to be done. You know, just because it's very hard to remove a bunch of pedophiles from the fucking, you know, the foster care system doesn't mean we should leave them there. You know? The wolves are running the show. How do you think they treat the sheep? You know? To me, it's painfully obvious. They fucking harass me illegally and, you know, they do all this illegal stuff and they abuse their position, in my case alone, every single day. To me, it's painfully obvious that the whole system has failed. They're all complete scum. You know, they try to make me a fucking terrorist. You know, these people literally tried to make me a fucking terrorist. They had CIA agents from Langley, Virginia, and Quantico, Virginia, FBI and CIA agents coming to me, trying to egg me on, trying to provoke me to do terrorist attacks on record, on social media. I have the messages. On record. Okay? These people tried to make me a terrorist. They knew damn well I was not converted to Islam before they started fucking harassing me as a group, before they started the organized harassment. They knew, they saw the progression toward fucking extremism and they pushed it along the way. These people are the terrorists. The government is the terrorist. If we're going to try to, you know, have more surveillance so we can protect ourselves from the terrorists, we're going to disarm people so we can protect ourselves from these domestic terrorists or these nutcases. The government is the nutcases. They're the terrorists. We need to protect ourselves from them. I mean, it's a no fucking brainer. It is absolutely a no-brainer. Okay? These people are lowly dogs, and if you don't protect yourself from them, they will rape your fucking wife, rape your kids, they will take your money. You people are fucking stupid. They will use the IRS as they will politically abuse the IRS. They will politically abuse law enforcement. They will politically abuse fucking mental health care system. This is what these people do. They politically abuse every little power they have. To take power from the people is absolute insanity. There's a reason why the people who wrote the Constitution, the original people who made the Declaration of Independence and so on, wanted Jefferson and them, they wanted there to be a standing militia to keep the government in check. They said the government is oppressive. That's why we came to America in the first place, supposedly. That's why we signed the Declaration and fought the Revolutionary War, because there needs to be strong checks and balances, and the government investigating itself is not enough. A bunch of rich bankers and so on investigating the royal family and their secret societies, investigate themselves. It's not enough. We need to put we need to have the people keep the government in check. The moment the people are not keeping the government in check, for whatever reason, this is no longer America. This is a corporation. This is a tyrannical, greedy corporation. And it's run by a bunch of sickos who like to rape children, abuse women, and their kids. They have their little children. When they're 18, they go join Blackwater and other contractors, and whatever that contract group Snowden was working for. They go join these contract groups, spy on people, jack off to phone calls, and rape women in fucking Iraq and so on and so forth. That's what these people do. That's who they are. And you think that, oh well, they're just gonna abuse these people over there. I mean, what kind of a dumbass? What kind of a complete moron would think that our government only tortures and abuses people abroad? I mean, what kind of complete fucking idiot? There are coalition forces abroad. It is much easier to abuse people at home than abroad, because you have the United Nations, you have the UK and France and Russia, who doesn't like us very much, who would love to expose our abuses, and so on and so forth. You have all these groups, all these international groups abroad, and all these foreign governments and intelligence agencies abroad. It is much easier for them to abuse people right here. But you think, you lowly, sniveling bootlickers, oh, they wouldn't do that to us. They just do it to the ragheads. Yeah, America, man. That's unpatriotic. Just complete fucking scum. And I'm sick of it.